So in honor of Halloween, I thought I would tell you guys some spooky family law stories about some actual cases I've had. So you guys can kind of get a glimpse into what I do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, we won't talk about yours. And I'll try to get in as many as possible because I could talk about this for hours. But one really great story, and when I say great, I'm kind of being sarcastic. So as you guys know, I handle injunctions as well. So that could be a domestic violence injunction, a stalking injunction, repeat violence injunction. We had a client that came to us. She had already obtained an injunction for stalking before she came to us against another woman for 10 years. And now to preface this with, typically judges will give injunctions for like a year, 2 years, long enough for people to kind of get over whatever it is they're going through. This judge thought this was bad enough to give this woman an injunction for 10 years. So after not even a year, this woman comes to us. She retains us to help her because the other party, the person who the injunction is against, is trying to dissolve the injunction, meaning she thinks that she no longer needs it, she's fine, she's cured, she's no longer cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and she doesn't want the injunction against her anymore. And I'm staring right at Patrick, who's got the traffic light up to here. So she comes to us because this woman essentially was stalking her, was posting about her incessantly on social media, contacting her every which ways, even wrote books about her, like really like bizarre stuff. So she comes to us to help her with this motion. She tried to dissolve the injunction. So in that process, I have to get involved in the case. I take her deposition. I'm in contact with this woman to be able to be prepared for this hearing. At some point, apparently this woman's fixation went from my client to me. Because in this process, we have to kind of look at their social media and kind of gather evidence that way. And it come to find out that she stopped posting about my client and starts posting about me, how old I am, and you know, not really anything bad or threatening to the point where I feel like I need to get my own injunction, but just hours and hours of like those reels and things like that about me. So that was a weird one. So we ended up going to court. I kind of used that to my advantage to tell the judge that this woman is very obviously not cured. She still has her problems. She's doing this against me now. And the judge very quickly denied her motion. So that was definitely a weird one when you become the subject of someone's stalking. Another crazy story that I have, we had a paternity case where we were representing the mother. It's two unwed parents. They have children in common. Two young kids, I think at the time they were like 5 and 7. Our client, the mother, was awarded on a temporary basis while the case was pending the majority of the time hearing. Dad had, I think it was like every other weekend. The dad did not like that very much, and he decided to do everything in his power to try to get these kids away from my client, the mother. To do that, this man started making false reports to CPS. He started filing fraudulent injunctions against her, throwing all types of accusations at her, and in turn we had to be retained each time to defend her against these injunctions that were filed against her. We had to work with CPS every time that they came and got involved, and most of the time did not stick until he filed an injunction against her and filed a report with CPS suggesting that my client was sexually abusing these children. Yeah. And thankfully, we had a really great detective. That was because then it kind of spilled over into criminal issues. We had a really great detective who was on the case, who worked really well with us and investigated and took it really seriously, because he took one look at my client and was like, I know that you're not doing what this man is saying you're doing. And also keep in mind, I'm getting chills talking about this. This girl was 7 years old and had to be subjected to essentially a rape examination because of the nature of the allegations. And it's a really invasive thing for anyone to go through, much less a 7-year-old. So come to find out that the father, his current wife, he was remarried, had coached these children and taught them to lie to the police, taught them to lie to CPS, to doctors, to say that mom was doing these things. Ultimately, the wife was arrested for filing a false report, coaching the children. I forget what the charges were, but she was arrested and she was no longer allowed to have contact with these children. Now you would think that the buck would stop there and that would kind of resolve it, because he really kind of pointed the finger at his wife, saying, I didn't know she was coaching them. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. So on and so forth. So then he tries to file another injunction. Things had kind of calmed down a little bit after that happened. But then, of course, he just can't help himself. He files an injunction in Polk County, and we're in Pasco County, so the injunction and the paternity case are all in front of the same judge, one family, one judge. So this man now tries to file an injunction against my client in Polk County to try to circumvent everything that's going on in Pasco County. And this time, he's suggesting that mom, my client, gave the daughter drugs, and that CPS came out and did a drug test, and she tested positive. And we're like, well, how can that be? Of course, my client wouldn't give this kid drugs. Turns out that the father, when CPS came to the home, they do a urine sample. He had taken the daughter into the bathroom because she was a little girl. He says, let me help her get the urine sample, whatever. He took drugs, and he gave the urine sample to CPS. And the reason we figured this out is because, of course, CPS has the child go to the hospital to make sure that they're not gonna overdose on whatever it is that they took. And they tested negative at the hospital. And we're like, it was within hours of each other, how could that be? So we subpoena the medical records, we go through all these hoops, find out that he's taken the drugs himself and tried to pin it on mom. So finally, we get this judge to say, you are no longer allowed to have any contact with your children. You can't have any time sharing, you're done. Our client goes, you would think it would stop there. Our client goes to the house to pick up these kids that now have been awarded to her 100% of the time. Dad, in true Polk County fashion, comes out of the house with a shotgun and points it at my client, her fiance, and their newborn child, who are in the car to pick up the kids. She calls the police, he gets arrested, he's still in jail to this day, and my client has 100% of the time with these kids. But that one was a crazy one, so to speak.
Wow,
32 seconds. Oh, I have one more. So those are just some of the things that we deal with in family law. It's not all just divorce and distributing assets and alimony. We get to see some really crazy stuff. And really that's why I do this, because it's tough. You see some really harmful things. You see children in really horrible situations, but that's what makes this job so rewarding. That's why I love to do it. It is hard. There's some days I go home and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This is crazy. But it's a super rewarding